Welcome to the Love, Purpose, Connection podcast. I am your host, Estelle Bingham, and together we'll be delving into the profound meaning of love, the driving force of purpose, and the beauty of connection that shapes the fabric of our lives. In each episode, I sit down with some of the most inspiring individuals out there to understand the ways love has touched them. Sonia Choquette is a prolific author who spent the last 40 years as an intuitive guide and spiritual teacher. Her most recent book, Read Life Accurately, Recognize and Respond to What's Really Happening, is an accumulation of her life's amazing work to date, written after losing her brother, her father, and her marriage. It's a testament to how we can really reimagine ourselves at any point in our journey, whoever we are. Sonia's gift is all about helping you find the answers within. Sonia Choquette, it's so exciting to invite you to the Love, Purpose, Connection podcast at last. It's taken us a few attempts, hasn't it?
Yeah, but it's all a divine appointment.
It's all a divine appointment, and third time lucky, and we always trust.
Good day.
We trust the flow.
Day.
It's a good day.
Yes.
It's a good day. So I am super excited to have you on the podcast to talk to us about everything intuition and everything Read Your Life Accurately. You have written 27 books. And they've been translated into 37 languages, which is pretty amazing, really extraordinary. I mean, you've been doing this
since I took my first breath, probably.
Since you took your first breath, exactly. For a few decades, you've been a spiritual teacher and a Hay House author, which is so wonderful. And we do want to hear about all things Read Your Life Accurately. I want to put that to one side for one moment because I do want to hear what it was like for you in the beginning as a child.
That's a good question. I was actually talking to someone about that last night. It was perfectly normal for me as a child because I lived in an environment, in a family bubble. I had a large family with a very intuitive mother. So it was normal to be perceptive of the energetic world. If anything, it was far more important than the literal world. My mother used to always say, what you see is true but incomplete. But what you feel is the whole story. So my childhood was sort of a flip in that until I went to school, living and communing with the dimensional universe with guides and angels and spirits and fairies and nature guides and my ancestors was my normal. But when I went to school, it was shocking. That, especially I went to a Catholic school, which really advocated angels and guides and beloveds, but that when you actually said, well, I'm having the conversation, that it wasn't okay. So I learned to be, at least publicly, a bit underground. I never had to be that way at home, and I never felt isolated, just kind of sorry for everybody that they weren't seeing the big picture. They were missing what to me was as obvious as, a nose on my face. So, and then I didn't pay much attention to it until I was around 12. My family, I grew up in Denver, and when I was a child, I got the reputation, and I think it's because I was one of 7 children and wanted to be center of attention. I had a lot of competition. I got good at reading life, like my mom. I just really took to it. And I had this reputation even by the time I was 12, that I could really dial into things and do readings and get information that wasn't obvious. So I was contacted by the Denver Police Department to help them solve a murder. And I was flattered, and it was TV, and it was fun until I actually went to the house. And I met with the family that was so beyond shattered, and saw the bodies and the blood, not the bodies, but the outline where the blood, and it hit me that it traumatized me, actually. It was not a game. And that people were very vulnerable and life had many layers, and some of them were very dark. And I actually freaked out. I didn't help them at all. I ran out of the house and ran for my life, and I had a complete nervous breakdown, actually.
Right.
And I ended up going to biofeedback for a year and a half just to feel safe to go out in the world, because all of a sudden my safe world was shattered. Well, the other thing that happened at that time is I wasn't the only one invited to go. There was an older couple who were quote unquote psychic and also well known, and they went with me. And one of the people there was very dramatic and carried on and was really adding to the stress. And she said, "There's bad spirits here, and they're evil," and traumatizing this family further, but traumatizing me. And she turned to me and she said, "Oh my God, you're too young. You can't fight the spirits. You're in danger." And that's when I bolted out of the house. Well, in that biofeedback year, I had a wonderful mentor. He's passed. His name is Dr. Tom Dougherty, but he helped me understand that I needed to understand what I was doing and not just live in the fun factor of it all. So I decided at that point I was going to devote my life to dissecting and understanding what exactly is this quality that I possess that other people don't, that has such a bad reputation and is so important and worthy. And so I spent my life studying religion, science, education, left brain, right brain, learning. I just shredded it to the dust mites to understand we're spiritual beings. And we are functioning in a world that up until recently has denied that. It's changing because we have to. So I had 3 master teachers. They started very young. I had a master teacher in metaphysical law. For 20 years, I had a master teacher in the psychic arts, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, psychometry, master teacher. And I learned with them. Plus, my other master teacher, who was the master teacher of manifestation, was my own mom. She could pull a rabbit out of the hat. There was never a never. It was just a game. We're going to find out. So I pretty much decided by the time I was 15 that I'd rather teach than just serve as the fishing pole for people. And I started my classes then. So I have 50 years under my belt.
Well, you are looking absolutely fabulous for all of that wonderful work that you've been doing. It really, and the grounding that work in, really the anchoring that work, because that is the most important part. And I think it's such an important part of the story, actually. This idea of when you went to the house and there was a couple who were kind of adding a lot of fuel to the fire. And I see that quite a lot. And I remember when someone asked me to clear their house for the first time, and I had a teacher, and so there was someone around who did a similar thing. But what actually happened was that he turned it into quite a drama. It was like a really big drama, like a big hullabaloo, like let's make a big thing about it. And I actually teach my students to really cut the drama. And it's a massive part of anchoring and grounding the work.
Well, I think you're right. So I think as long as we're going to spook and scare ourselves because of superstition and lack of understanding, we're not going to integrate our own internal senses and put them to use as they're designed to be. The drama, to me, only comes up with people who don't understand what they're doing, but they want the ego attention. I agree with you.
Absolutely right.
I always one of my teachers actually said to me, and it was a life-changing moment. I was very young. He said to me, he gave me an envelope and he said, "Okay, let's practice psychometry. Read what's in here, but don't open it." And I kind of panicked because he caught me off guard, and I said, "I can't." And he looked at me real seriously and said, "Why?" And I thought about it. He goes, "Think about it." And I said, "Because I don't have permission." And he said, "From who?" And I said, "Well, obviously from you." And he laughed very, very genuine. He said, "I don't have permission. I don't have the authority to give you permission to use your natural faculties. And anybody who would ever dare to suggest they do, you need to run from." That permission only comes from you.
And that's a massive part of really, what you teach.
My whole life got anchored around that one sentence.
Yeah. Right. So that's, and when people come to see me, they often ask, they say, well, what does it mean to be psychic, or am I psychic, or are you born with it? What does it mean? And I was actually explaining this yesterday, and I was talking about the idea of a gift and the idea of the psychic gift. And some people are really at this end, but every single person that is embodied in this moment has the right to be psychic in their own lives. Right. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to take that into the rest of the world, because that may not be your mission, to actually read for other people. But this idea of taking sovereignty of your own gift, your own power, and your own that ability to read.
Right.
I
really actually believe our bodies are biologically wired with both outer and inner senses.
Yeah.
Our outer senses don't work very well right now because they're overwhelmed and saturated with too much information. Fortunately, I grew up in a time when we didn't have that distraction.
Yeah.
We didn't have cell phones and computers, and so my outer senses did develop better than some, I think, right now. But my inner senses, I think we all have inner senses. Our internal biology is wired to keep us grounded. So that's the first sense that comes in, psychic sound. Am I safe? That's just survival.
Yeah.
And then we are in our inner senses, we have also, am I harmonious and congruent emotionally? This will help us develop our people, our relationships, our communities, and our creativity. And then we develop further. We have an inner sense that affirms to us, do you have boundaries? Are you contained, or are you evaporating? And are you getting hijacked by other people's energy? So that's the sense of feeling like I have sovereignty and agency.
Yeah.
And then our hearts it's like a whole spring of consciousness. There's two hearts, actually. We have one psychic heart that is always beaming for where is my source of nurturing, because we're pack animals. We need our people. And then the high heart, which is here, this inner sense is that yearning for a connection to our spirit, that we know and we sense that there's more than this physical reality. And that's the sense that's turning on in everybody now, that even would beg that question, am I psychic? That's this saying, I feel it, but nobody in the outer world's affirmed it. So am I making it up? They're really asking for affirmation because they probably have been given no permission. And then we have this throat here. This corresponds to the chakras, but it goes from here to the back of the head to here. It's like it's a whole satellite where we psychically can sense if someone's congruent, if what they're saying matches what I'm experiencing, if they're aligned, if they're honest. We can tell if this is opportunity that will support us or will put us off. And my experience, and I'd like to know yours, people are very psychic. That's not the challenge. It's, are you going to pay attention to it? Are you actually going to pay attention to it? Or are you going to go, oh, that's so weird? Or, oh, I'm going to freak out. Or, oh, let me ask someone else, which is giving away our permission to listen to ourselves. And who, my God, are you putting it in the hands of? If you got Bozo the clown asking him, then you're going to get a Bozo answer. Then you have just disempowered yourself. But I also know the hesitation comes with that kind of knowing comes responsibility. Yeah. And that's another piece of it, right?
It is another piece of it, but that's so true. It's so, so true, Sonia. What happens is people get the drop-ins, they get the little synchronicities, or they get the feelings, and time again, they sidestep the feeling.
Yeah.
Right? So
because one, they don't want to know. I find the biggest reason we're not intuitive is because the information I get is not supporting my ego's desire. It's like, oh yeah, that's a great person to date when you're getting Night of the Living Dead vibes. It's like, because you want so badly to connect. So the first level of psychic activation, if you want it, is you got to be honest.
Yeah, you got to get real.
And you have to be willing to get hear maybe what isn't what your ego wants, but it's the truth. I mean, your psychic channel will tell you the true nature of things.
Hi, it's Estelle here, and I'm so excited to share my new book with you, Manifest Your True Essence, Clear Your Blocks, Find Your Joy, Live Your Truth. This is more than just a book. It's an invitation to come home to your heart. Within its pages, you'll find the guidance to reconnect with your true essence. Through gentle meditations, heart-centered practices, and soulful wisdom, you'll learn how to release old patterns, embrace your divine spark, and manifest a life filled with love, purpose, and connection. You can order Manifest Your True Essence on Amazon or wherever books are sold, and begin the sacred journey back to your heart today. Remember, you are love, you are light, and you are infinitely powerful. The truth always sets you free, right? So, but it's that thing of landing the truth, like you say, and does that align with, you know, the story that you're telling yourself that day? And so there is such a massive thing to be said for that, Sonia. So it's actually creating a safe space also inside for the truth to be what it is, and that you support the truth. Like, we just actually, whatever comes in, we trust and support.
Right. That's the key.
That's the key. For me, that's a heart piece. And when we connect with the heart, that can be our safe place where we allow the truth.
That is Psychic Central.
That's Psychic Central. And I read that in your book. So when I saw that in your book, of course I saw that in your book, Sonia, I was like, here it is. You know, you talk about the two hearts. I talk about three hearts, actually: the physical, the emotional, and then the mystic heart.
There you go.
Right.
There are three hearts, and the two heart centers, the physical, emotional, is more immediate.
Yes.
And then the high heart is who I am as an infinite being.
As an infinite being, absolutely.
The other thing that I think challenges people, and that you have to just be logical now, is that your five senses give you a limited amount of information. It's like an AM radio. It has a limited band. That's biologically, that's the way it is. Your left brain, if you will. But your inner guidance gives you information that might not be physically validated or immediately validated, but it also is information that is different than what your five senses may be conveying. And so it's disruptive. It actually invites you to do something different than what your logic brain might be tootling along wanting to do. And humans don't like to change. It's like, I'm getting a bad vibe. I shouldn't take this job. I'm getting a bad vibe, but my brain already said, take it, take it, take it. So I'm just going to steamroller right through all this information that's saying not a match. It's not congruent. It's not supportive. And we're going to steamroller because I already decided I have to do this. So it's really about how willing you are to be disrupted and change your mind. Because that's what the information gives you.
Yeah. What would you suggest to people, Sonia? How would you suggest people move forward with that challenge? Because it confronts, there's going to be so many people listening.
The challenge. And I always say if you're getting information, it's real. You're getting something. So let's check the heart. Is it my emotional heart saying, oh, I really want this? Is it my high heart? And so you can first test the quality in the channel. If it's true intuitive information, it's consistent. You're going to get not good, not good, not good. Even your brain and your emotional brain goes, oh, it's wonderful. It's a fabulous out. You know, I'll give you an example. I have a client who got offered a job in San Francisco. She lived in Chicago. So we're in America. Everything on paper is a good job, fabulous benefits, great money. It's a better weather, everything in her brain. And everyone around her said, go for it. But her inner self said, not good, not good, not good, not good. We talked about it. That's why she called me. And in the end, she took the job and she said, I knew it was wrong, but I took it because I wanted the promise. And the promise looked really good. I wanted that promise. Well, what happened is she moved out there, and 8 weeks later, this company got sold and she got laid off. She just pulled her whole life up.
Right.
And lost everything. Okay. She was so angry. And I said, well, what are you angry with? You know, do you want the reality or do you want the promise? You have to make a choice. So I advise people, if you have to sit down and say, am I going for the illusion? Am I going for the promise? Am I going for my projection? Or am I going to go for what I can live with energetically? Can I live with this discrepancy? Because I can't. To me, it's torturous to go against what my energy and my awareness is conveying. And I say, if you choose that, just know, okay, have that experience, but know that if you're going against the energy you're feeling, you will meet up with it very shortly. You will meet up with it. You will meet up with the incongruency. So would you rather be frustrated now and just reorganize, or will you rather meet it later? But you're going to meet it. So you have a choice. And giving people a choice will actually help them go with their vibes than to fight with it. I'll say, go for it. That's what I told this one. Go for it. But you will meet up with this incongruency because it's telling you something that you need to know.
Yeah.
And when she said, I knew it, I said, well, how many times do you have that? Do you need that experience? Because I don't need it. I would rather say I'm out and I can't explain. But if you need to have this one. So I say to people, be honest and then own your choice.
Yeah. And trust, right? There is this thing.
Right. Trust. This is something.
Trust.
It is telling you something very real.
Yes.
The other thing is be curious. What is this that I'm feeling? It looks so good. And then start talking about it. The other reason people ignore their vibes is you don't talk about it. Say, something's off. We have a joke with my daughters. We say the chicken's off. When you buy chicken and you open it, you're going to smell it. It's like, oh, chicken's to say, that's sort of a joke.
Right.
But if it's off, it's off. And I'll tell you, it's very hard to disregard what you talk about. So just talk about it.
So just express, verbalize, kind of lean into that.
Don't keep it internal.
Yeah, absolutely. So this book, we love this book because it's it feels like it's got everything encapsulated in sort of like a manual almost of how to trust your vibes, trust,
right.
Feel into what's happening in the room, in the relationship, at work, but also, like you say, the inner and outer worlds. Can you give me your sort of, if there's 3 things that we could do today to start building?
Okay. Well, the very first thing I'm going to do is you're not going to read anything accurately unless you know yourself. So you start with read yourself. And the way you read yourself is you first have to be in your body.
Yeah.
I have to just take a breath. And one of my favorite breaths is just breathe in, open the jaw, and let out a loud sigh. Because what that does is it stimulates the vagus nerve all the way down with the jaw, down into the gut. And you know what it does energetically is everybody's out of the pool.
Right.
You just cast off all the intrusions of the energetic world coming at you.
Yeah.
Instant quiet. Then get clear. What are my priorities right now? What do I need? What do I want? What am I going for? So it takes a minute of self-reflection and investigation. And I always say, keep it real immediate, like for today.
Yeah.
Let's not do big picture, okay?
Right.
We can't know that anyway. What's important today? I got to get my kid to school. I got a meeting. I'm going on a date. I want to move my website or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then ask your inner self to support you. Align the inner and outer so they're not at cross purposes. Okay, inner self, heart self, spirit, senses, let's work together. So, because your primary reason to have this intuitive compass is to meet your goals.
Yeah.
If it's spinning around because you don't know where you're going to go, you're going to get too much information. So what is my compass to work with me on? That's important. Then you are a radio. It's got to be plugged in. So you need to drink water. You need to eat protein, stay out of blood sugar hell.
Mm.
You need to breathe. Otherwise, you're not going to receive the signals. So this is very practical. Drink water, breathe, eat. Then the next thing is really a big one is to start talking about what I feel.
Yes.
And not emotionally. The word is a problem in English because English feeling is a word that talks about emotion. And I'm talking about sensation. I am talking about vibration. When I talk about what do I feel, not my emotions. And that's another area of confusion. So I always say, my gut says, my heart says, and my fear says. So first, let's talk about your fear because that's the confusion. It's trying to control. Okay, these are my fears. That's empty the garbage. So just name your fears. I'm afraid I'll be wrong. I'm afraid I'll be late. I'm afraid I won't pay my bills. I'm afraid that the person I'm meeting won't like me, my client, whatever. Just empty it and breathe through each one. Just breathe. You're just empty. Then my gut says, and fill in the blank out loud because your gut is your protective intuition.
Yeah.
My gut says that I do have to get a job, or my gut says I do have to move, or my gut says this really is a relationship at its end. So get clear about what's trying to protect you. That is an important piece because you're in charge of keeping yourself safe. Then maybe 2-3 times you get clear and then go to your heart. This is your divine self. And my heart says, and say it out loud. So we could do it. You want to do it?
Let's do it. Let's do that.
Instead of talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to walk you through it. And you're going to be the person. And so my first requirement is this. It has to be, if you want your intuition to guide you, you have to be authentically available. So what do you want? Where do you want guidance? Is there any area of your life where you personally, genuinely could use some clear guidance?
Let's go for work.
Okay. Yeah. Everybody, it's our survival. It's our daily need. So in work, what if you to formulate the question, which means where am I available for something new that is a little murky for me right now? Do you have any part of your life you want to share that would be a little murky? It doesn't have to be crisis. Just, I could use a little more clarity here.
Okay. So clarity around starting bigger engagements and moving away from my private practice, and that's something
being
like
a more
that.
public availability.
Yeah.
Okay. So first, get grounded. Take a sip of water if you have one.
Yeah. I've got some tea, but it's ginger and lemon.
It helps. Hydration helps. Then you just take a breath in and a sigh. Oh. Okay. Now, 3 fears. I'm afraid of what that'll do with my time. Okay, take a breath. Let it drift. Second, I'm afraid of where there is space for that. Okay. Again, let it go. And just one more sweep. I'm afraid of what you never say, but it's floating there.
What happens? Just what that looks like.
Okay. The unknown. Okay.
Yeah.
And a third breath. Okay, now we're going to go to survival. Let's go to the gut. Hand on this and on your belly. Okay. And My need says, the belly is your need.
My need likes the way what I'm doing, how I live life. I can really feel
Perfect. Take another breath. Ah. And my need, my survival, my need, my habit, my comfort. What is that? I'll say.
It's kind of just pottering around, having
Okay, so you can feel it.
just that kind of just the pottering around.
Neither here nor there.
Well, no, but my need is sort of, is actually just enjoying the status quo.
Okay, very important information.
Hmm.
That's maybe not something you consciously thought of lately. And let's do it a third time, because this is what's causing the conflict. So let's give it a voice. So what else? It might need to keep me comfortable and safe. What else?
I think it's to do with my animals, my family. It's
Okay. That's all grounding. That's grounding. That's taking care of my ground. Good information. Take a breath. Hand on the heart.
Yeah.
And my spirit says,
go for it.
And my spirit says,
it's all good.
And one more, my spirit says,
do what you always do. You go with the flow, go with the flow, be in flow.
Okay. Now take a breath. Feels. And the answer is?
I've forgotten the question. The answer
just
is.
Let it come.
Yeah, the answer
Not
is.
expansion. The answer is.
Expand and grow and go.
Okay, now the final question. Go, grow. Now here's the most important question. Does that feel true?
Yeah, it does.
See, your whole body just.
Yeah.
That whole thing got answered. Now, final, you have a choice. You don't have to do anything, but you got the answer that if you did, everything would fall into place. That's the answer you got.
Well, I love that answer, Sonia.
Yeah, see, your whole self, if you watch your old video, you're going to see, you just brightened up and your body opened up. And that's a clue that it's true intuitive guidance. I also think it's important people know you don't have to follow your intuition. You have a choice.
I think that is important, actually. And I also want to bring people back to sensations, because I think that's super important. The sensations in the body, because it's the same when I see people, most of the people I see, and a lot of people are out of body. So this breathing and just the basics that you're talking about, the practicalities of just coming back into the body are so important. So
I think they're essential.
They're essential.
I think it's the it's we're not talking about emotions. We're talking about receiving energy.
It's foundational, right? And even though it sounds like drink water or have some food or breathe, it's the way that you do channel.
And it's how you become aware of anything.
It's how you become aware of anything. But let's talk about sensations. So what sensations do you get as confirmation? Do you get the goosebumps, the tingles? Like what's the kind of... how does it work for you?
I work with the vibration of sound, but not noise. It's silent, but it's vibration. I feel vibration, and my fairy tale is the princess and the pea. If it's the slightest bit off, I feel it loud and clear, but not just in my ears. My whole body is constantly scanning for the vibrational congruency. And if it's slightly off, I dial in and I check, is it slightly off because we go to that third chakra, my own needs are trying to protect me with the predictable, or is it off because what I'm feeling is incongruent to what's presenting? So that is my whole thing. I am visual if I want to be. I can see a whole movie, but it's not how I'm walking around. I mean, I'm walking around just like a radio, just scanning the frequency. And it's so ingrained in me that my body will move while my brain's going, where am I going? It'll move away or it'll move toward. And one of the most significant moments in time when my kids were little, 2 and 3, I was on my way in a snowstorm in Chicago to pick them up from preschool. So it started snowing. I'm driving along, full intention of going. All of a sudden, my car turns and I'm driving away. And I'm thinking, well, this is interesting where I'm going. They're picking them up now. So I drive 3 blocks. I have no idea where I'm going. And then I turn again. But I'm talking to myself going, where are we going? And I go 3, 4 more blocks. And I'm about 5 minutes away the wrong direction. That's a pretty far distance from school. I come to a stop sign on a residential street. I'm not even on a main street. And a little toddler in a diaper and barefoot runs right in front of my car. No adult around. So there you go. That's why I'm there. I put the car in park. I ran, I grabbed the baby, put her under my coat. She freaked out, of course, because she didn't know me. She's just on the run. So I put the car over and I just followed my vibes to an open door, maybe about a block and a half away. And I went to the open door and a woman opened. She just freaked out and said, what are you doing with my baby? And I asked her, is this your baby? And she said, well, I'm actually the babysitter. I'm the nanny. And I said, well, you're not on the job today, because she got out the door and I found her on the street. And so my vibes took me to intersect that. It was so dramatic. And I had her call the parents. And, I didn't just drop her off. I confirmed, And I realized then that day, my body is a whole body compass. My brain isn't involved that much in my life. It could be more, actually. When I run into trouble, it's because of that. So that's how it works for me.
Wow. So the sensations, as you say, your body is the transmitter, and you just end up
receiver.
And it's the receiver, and exactly. Mm-hmm. And what a lot of people talk about, and I hear it, and I'm sure you hear it all the time, are the empaths who end up not wanting to go out or kind of be on, public transport, right, or actually be in the world, because they are picking up so much energy from everyone else, and they can't discern what is theirs and what is not theirs. So where it ends, where you end and someone else begins. And I always say to all of the people that I see, you're an empath, and it's a superpower. Like, it's such a powerful gift. And just as we've spoken about at the beginning of the podcast, you need to learn how to protect that gift, how to use that gift, how to discern, because discernment is the most powerful piece, isn't it, really? Because that is the wisdom. That's our wisdom. So when we can discern what energy is, because everything is made up of energy. So everything is vibrating all day long. It's everywhere we go. We walk past a tree, we walk past a person, we walk past a lamppost, like, things are happening.
I have a couple of things to say about that. Number one, I call them turtles without a shell.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that.
You need your shell. You need to go back to what I said about read yourself. You have to have agency. You have to have commitment to self. You need to, first of all, get into your body, because when you're not in, squatters move in. And that's why you're channeling the whole world, because you're not in and fully committed to who you are and what's important to you. So the discernment goes back to, well, what am I doing? I used to pick up everything from everybody, and I was sick all the time, especially when I was a child. I'd walk in a room, and if there's somebody having a bellyache over here, I'd have it. And then I thought, well, that's not practical. My teachers taught me. And so I'm going to say something to all the empaths in the world that saved my life. Mind your own business. What's going on all around here is not your business. But what you're not minding is your business. So the answer to the empaths who are acting like the sponges of the world, you're not clear about your business. It's the natural boundary and the natural way to discern. If I'm finding my business, I'm not going to be picking up over here, and I'm not going to be tuned in over. It's certainly not to the point it's distracting. And if it is, I will know, taking care of my business, to leave, to stay out. I'm out. So that's the remedy. Mind your own business. What is your business? Get to it.
Well, I love that. And that's a perfect way to, think about also, mind your business, go inside, meet the parts of you that need to be met so you can be more in your body and more in your life and hold yourself safe. So whether it's, meeting your inner child, you've got a chapter on that in your book, whether it's, finding a voice and being able to speak your boundaries, go and do that work and hold yourself safe in the world, because we need more empaths in the world. We need the people to be reading the world accurately. That is really how humanity will ultimately save itself, is if we are able to be in relationship, but in a really beautiful way, that it's not that's kind of where we're interdependent, but we're not, merged. But we are experiencing our sensitivity and all of our heart energy, and we were able to be channels.
That's so important. Part A, do your inner healing work. And part B, do your inner creative work.
Yeah.
Find and commit to something you love. And there are many, many empaths who say, well, I don't know what it is, because they're confusing that with me saying, find a job.
Right.
I'm not saying find a job. I'm saying channel your number one soul purpose for being here, which is to create. That can be really good at cooking, make a beautiful garden, decorate your house, learn to, write books, sing songs, create beauty. Create beauty. It is a natural antidote to being overwhelmed by an aggressive world. Devote yourself to creating in your little world, even if it's this teacup, make it beautiful. Something that is your soul adding to the beauty of the world. It doesn't have to attract attention to your ego. It doesn't even have to be noticed. If you're growing petunias in your windowsill, that's your business today. You are putting out that vibration that doesn't allow you to be picking up every distracting vibe from every passerby. And it really does quiet the noise and quiet the assault that empaths experience.
Amazing. I love that. It's going to be so helpful. So Sonia, when you came to write this book, I was reading in the introduction, you kind of had obviously had these decades of being a spiritual teacher, and you found yourself really, it kind of sounds like a dark night of the soul, as we do that, don't we? We kind of in this incarnation, and we're constantly evolving. And you mentioned that your brother had passed away, and your marriage had collapsed, and you were in this really powerful unraveling, actually, And
I call it the bowling ball down the alley, and all the pins went flying.
Right. And that it's sort of from that this book was birthed or emerged from that, the pieces of that time in your life.
What I believe is the same thing is collectively going on. The way we've organized our lives perhaps has been attached to things that are now limiting us. That we've created lives, and we've created situations that are containers that are too small. It's like shoes we've outgrown. So we're attached, but the universe is now causing both in my own microcosm, my own upheaval, but you look out the window, everything's in upheaval. We could freak out, and there's an emotional part of us that needs to perhaps, but what's the point? What's the gift here? What's the opportunity is reinvention. That maybe I don't need to just let survival and security and predictability be what drives my entire beingness. The truth is, we're all here temporarily, even though we like to forget. Maybe this huge disruption is, they say necessity is the mother of invention. It's going to invite an activation of our inner senses. It's going to invite a leap forward in terms of who we are and what we are capable of in terms of how I see myself, what my identity can blow out of my personality. I'm not just this married person of 30 years living in this neighborhood doing this little thing. All of a sudden, I'm exploded and I can be whatever. And I feel that I wrote the book because it's not just happening to me, it's globally happening. every predictable construct we have been raised with is no longer reliable.
It's falling
Everything's
apart.
up for grabs.
Yeah.
Everything. So what does that give us? It can either freak us out if we're in the third dimension and feel like we're only victims of what's out here, or it can generate an enormous creativity. And that creativity cannot actually happen unless we use all of our senses, unless we really stop saying, am I really psychic? And we start saying, I am psychic. I feel this. I'm going for it and it works for me. So I don't need anyone's permission. I am guided. I do feel this. I am going to take that risk. I'm not going to play it safe and tiptoe around the edges and always be scared. I don't want to live that small and shadowed life. I am going to live large into hell. The torpedoes be damned. We're all going to end one day anyway. So why not live it out now? And that surge, I think, has put us in this moment in time at the most exciting. It's like the Renaissance, going from the Dark Ages to the Renaissance. We're right there right now. And so bring on the disruption, because it liberates me from my own small imagination and my own limited understanding of who I am. Necessity will bring out more creativity in me, or not, but we have a choice.
We have a choice, Sonia. We really do. And
Yeah.
I've absolutely loved having you on this podcast, on the Love Purpose Connection podcast.
Well, it's a gift. Thank you for bringing me into this beautiful, beautiful vibration, and there's so much that you do for the world. I feel honored. Thank you.
Well, I am so honored. And tell me, Sonia, those three words, what those three words mean to you: love, purpose, connection. What do they evoke in you?
To me, it's why we're here. It's the point of being embodied. It's the point of our lives. It's the point of being alive. To love, to have that said, share it in the purpose of how we express that love. And the only way we can express that love is by connection.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. And everyone listening, I want you to get this book. Read Life Accurately, because it will help you do everything that we've spoken about today. It really will help you hone and bring in and experience the fullness of what it means to be human and your life. And it's a beautiful book written by a beautiful human, Sonia. And I'm super excited also. We're going to be doing an amazing event in September. So anyone who's listening to this, there'll be details in my bio somewhere, but we will be doing an amazing event together. And that will
I look forward to it. It's going to be an incredible creation.
It's going to be a creation in London, in the UK. So please stay tuned for that. So much love to you, Sonia.
Oh, my love. Thank you, everybody. And thank you so much, Estelle.
Thank you, darling. Thank you so much for listening to Love, Purpose, Connection with me, Estelle Bingham. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'd really appreciate that. And if you really liked it, then leave me a review so I can keep doing what I love, healing one heart at a time. You can also follow me, Estelle.Bingham, on Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest releases. If you feel in need of some extra guidance, then my book, Manifest Your True Essence, could be helpful. You can find it online or in any major bookshop. In the meantime, thanks again for listening, thanks again for watching, and I will join you on the next episode of the Love, Purpose, Connection podcast.